Hi, welcome to my YouTube channel on PTS Chemistry class. So in this video, I will explain to you about the substitution reaction by free radical mechanism in the organic chemistry. Okay, free radicals are generated by either light or heat or by peroxides. So when you have two species like this, say for example if you take Cl2, Cl is present like this and there are 7 electrons in the valential of each hydrogen atom including the chlorine. So now this bond is very vulnerable bond, both are equally electronegative and both will try to pull the electron towards itself. So when we give some light or some energy in the form of light or heat, this bond will break, and since they are equally electronegative, they will undergo homolytic fission to produce 2 Cl dot, which we call this as the free radical. So free radicals are highly reactive species and they are highly reactive species, so they go in a very prolific manner and very violent manner, very difficult to control the reactions. Okay, so now we will see some examples of this reaction. For example, if you take any alkene, you have studied in 11th standard, you take any alkene and if you treat it with light, chlorine in the presence of light, now each hydrogen will be replaced successively to form the various compounds. This you have studied in your lower classes, 11th standard, and this will form, the next compound will be formed like this, then the next compound will be formed like this, then the next compound. So successively one hydrogen from methane will be released from the methane like this. Now if you see the mechanism of this reaction, now what happens, this free radical mechanism takes place in 3 steps. The first step is the chain initiation. In this the chain will be initiated. That's what I have shown you here. So this step is the initiation step. Okay, so this step is initiation step where you have the chlorine free radical is generated. Then the propagation step. The second step is the propagation step, and this is first step. Okay, in the propagation step what happens is this chlorine free radical will attack the 1-1 bond in each of the methane. So this will come and attack this. Now again this will undergo homolytic fission to produce free radical like this, CH3 dot plus H dot. Now each of this will be combined with a chlorine atom like this, and you will have the product that is formed like this. So like this successive replacement of all these hydrogen bonds, 1, 2, 3 and 4 CH bonds will undergo homolytic fission, and then each hydrogen will be broken to form the free radical, and then the corresponding products will be formed in this. So the last step, the third step, is the termination of the chain reaction. So this chain reaction will be terminated by when all the methane is reacted, then no more methane is present. Then what happens is whatever the chlorine free radical that is left over will combine with itself to form Cl2. So once the Cl2 is formed, now this reaction will stop and the chain termination will stop at this position. So you can also have a product like this, since the methyl free radical that is formed here can also combine with another methyl radical like this. This methyl radical can combine with another methyl radical like this to form ethane. Okay, so you will also get ethane where a dimerization will take place. One of the possible products in the case of free radical substitution. So in this you can see that the H dot is replaced with the free radical, and the H dot is replaced with Cl dot. So that's why we call this as a substitution reaction. Okay, so why it is called substitution? It's because of this reason we call this as a substitution reaction. So this is the substitution in the case of a alkane. It goes like this. Now we will see the next free radical substitution is by the allylic allylic substitution we will see. So we have studied in the lower classes in the 11th standard what is meant by an allyl. Allyl group is you have a CH3 and then a CH double bond CH2. So this is an allyl compound, and this hydrogen is called as a allylic hydrogen. Allylic hydrogen. Why we call this as an allylic hydrogen? Suppose you have a compound like a chlorine attached to this carbon. So this CH2 CH, we call this as an allyl chloride. We call this as an allyl chloride. During this reaction, this chlorine will go out, the better leaving group. Once it goes out, it generates a carbocation, that is CH2 plus CH double bond CH2, and this is resonance stabilized. This is resonance stabilized. So we have studied this. For more details on resonance, you see my another video on how the resonance operates in the organic compounds. So here this will come here and this will become plus and this will become minus, the double bond shift here. So we don't go into that details now. So what I want to tell you is here this is the allylic hydrogen that is getting attacked by the reagent. Say for example, if you take this propene, CH3 CH double bond CH2, as I told you, this is the allylic hydrogen that is going to get attacked. So you can put Cl2 in the presence of light, or you can put in the presence of light. If you are in the presence of light, I told you this hydrogen will be replaced, so you get a product like Cl CH2 CH double bond CH2. So you get this product. Or suppose, as I told you in the beginning, free radical can also take place by heating. So if you supply energy to break the CCl bond in the Cl2 molecule, again also you will get the same compound, that is the allylic compound will be hydrogen will be replaced, CH2 CH double bond CH2. So you get the same allylic chloride in the case of this. You can also add Cl2 SO2, Cl2 SO2, and if you can put it in the presence of light, chlorine free radical will be generated. That is, this is SO2 Cl2, SO2 Cl2. Again you get the same product. Okay, so you can also do the free radical substitution by means of say a tertiary butyl hypochlorite. Tertiary butyl hypochlorite, that is Me3COCl. Me3COCl. So tertiary butyl hypochlorite in the presence of light. Again you need energy in the form of light or heating. A little bit of energy is sufficient to make the homolytic fission to produce a free radical, and then again you will get the same product. So the product will be same. Remember, you have to identify the reaction by looking at the reagent. Very important. Identify the reaction by looking at reagent. So what is the reagent that is given to you? That will decide the product. So in the case of halogen in the presence of light, halogen in the presence of temperature, if you give heat, or any other compound where homolytic fission take place like this, sulfuryl chloride and tertiary butoxy, tertiary butyl hypochlorite. So all these compounds will undergo homolytic fission to produce the free radical, to produce this, give the same compound. And you also have one more reagent, that is N-bromosuccinamide. N-bromosuccinamide, we say NBS, in the presence of light. This will produce a bromine derivative. Since bromine is present in that compound, it will give you a bromine derivative. So we will see the mechanism of these two, that is the tertiary butyl chloride. If you see tertiary butyl chloride, mechanism of that is Me3COCl, tertiary, like this. So it will be like this, CH3 C CH3 CH3 OCl, like this. So now this will undergo the homolytic cleavage in the case of the mechanism. So I'm just writing it in the short form. The chain initiation, like you have this Me3COCl in the presence of light, it will produce the free radical, that is Me3CO dot plus Cl dot. So this will form the chain initiation step, first step, the chain propagation step. This Me3CO dot now will attack the alkene or alkane, that is the RH bond, that is CH bond, it will go and attack the CH bond, and this will produce Me3. Again this CH bond will break and you will have the free radical R dot and H dot. R dot and H dot, now this will combine with O and form this Me3COH will be formed plus R dot will be formed. Remember, whenever a free radical attacks any compound, any reactant, it will only produce a free radical by homolytic fission. Okay, it does not produce any other species, and free radicals can be compared to carbocations, that is they are electron deficient in nature. They have only one electron, so they will behave like a carbocation. Therefore, the stability of the free radical is also similar to the stability of the carbocations. Now this R dot that is formed, this R dot will go on attack the another compound Me3COCl. All the free radicals that is generated during the reaction will go on attack any other compound that is present in the reaction mixture. So this again, this OCl bond will break as shown here, So now this will form the product will be RCl. You have this chlorine free radical plus this again Me3CO dot. So like this the reaction will go on as long as the amount of alkane or alkene that is present in the given compound, and finally in the termination step, so these two will combine. I will give you your homework here, food for thought. You can find out the termination step. Whether you will have a peroxide that is formed like this, Me3CO dot OC Me3, whether this will be formed. Okay, I'll this you as a homework. You can put it in my comment section. If you know the answer, I will try to reply to you. Okay, so this is how this tertiary butyl hypochlorite will give the product. So you should remember this. And then the next one is through the N-bromosuccinamide. The next reaction is through N-bromosuccinamide. N-bromosuccinamide. Okay, NBS, abbreviated as NBS. So succinic acid is this CH2COOH and CH2COOH. It's a dicarboxylic acid. Okay, when you heat this, whenever you heat a dicarboxylic acid, they will always try to eliminate a water molecule present in that or any gas that can be liberated from them. So you get a succinic anhydride, that is CH2CO and then CH2CO and one more will be. So this will be the anhydride, succinic anhydride. Okay. Now if you take this acid and if you react it with the base ammonia, you get succinamide. And we don't want to go into the synthesis of this. I just wanted to show you how does this what is the name of this compound and how this compound is produced. So the bond line structure for this will be like this: N-bromosuccinamide. This is CO. Okay, N-bromosuccinamide. Now if you add bromine to this, you will have the N-bromosuccinamide. So this is NBS plus bromine. I'm not just showing you, don't go by the synthesis part of this. I'm just trying to show you what is the structure of this compound and how you can remember the name of this. Okay, so if you see the mechanism of this NBR, now this NBR, I'll draw it here again. So you have the NBR. N-bromosuccinamide with double bond CO, CH2, NBr. Now, for this, a small amount of a bromine gives the allylic substitution in this reaction, while a high concentration of bromine will give you the addition reaction. So you have to remember this point. And for this N-bromo NBS reaction, you need little bit of water. So when you add little bit of water, this is all in this reaction. So you get the first product, that is this product you get. This N will be, the Br will be replaced by H, and then you get the HBr2, and then you get the Br2. Here you get the Br2, that is okay. So this reaction will be formed. This Br2 that is formed in this reaction, now this undergoes homolytic fission to produce the 2Br dot. Remember, this is a reversible reaction because I told you free radicals are highly reactive, and so that this will be the first step, chain initiation, where the free radical is generated. Once the free radical is generated, this will attack the NBS. So drawing the structure of NBS every time will be little bit irritating, but never mind. So when you add this to NBr, when this Br attacks, this is also, we can take it as a chain initiation step, where the free radical that is produced here will be like this, N dot plus Br dot. Homolytic fission like this. Homolytic fission will be like this. So the next step will be the propagation step. So the propagation step, what happens? It goes and attacks the allylic hydrogen. So we have the allylic hydrogen here, CH2 double bond CH2H. This is the allylic hydrogen, and this will be attacked by the Br dot. This will be attacked by the Br dot to form the corresponding compound as shown above. So CH2, CH, then CH2. Now this will undergo homolytic fission like this, CH2 dot Br, like this. CH2 Br will be formed out, and then HBr will be formed. HBr will be, H dot Br dot will combine together, it will form this compound. So then this is how the reaction will proceed, that is it will generate a free radical. So I just showed it in one step. Now this will produce a free radical like this, that is CH2 double bond CH single bond CH2 dot plus H dot. Now this will be attacked by the bromine to produce the product. So afterwards the bromine radical continues to the chain reaction. So it keeps on attacking all the molecules of this allylic compound that is present in the reaction mixture. Once all the molecules are attacked and converted to the corresponding compounds, the chain termination step, in the last step, the chain in the chain termination step, this Br dot and Br dot will combine together to form Br2, and the reaction stops at that stage. So as I told you, a high concentration of Br2, if you take very high concentration of Br2, it gives you addition reaction. Suppose we have studied in the 10th standard, that is when you add bromine water to the alkene, so it forms 1,2-dribromoalkene, that is the vicinal dihalide. So it causes decolorization of the bromine water to give you the addition reaction if you take a very high concentration of bromine to produce this. But when you take moderate or low concentration of this, it will give you the substitution, the electrophilic substitution reaction here. Okay, so this, if you want, we'll just write that reaction, CH2 double bond CH single bond CH2 with excess bromine. If you take excess bromine, then it will form CH2 CH3, this is 3. So you have a Br formed here, you have a Br formed here. So you get a 1,2 vicinal dihalide that is formed here, and it takes place when it depends on the reaction condition. So that's why I told you, you have to identify the reaction by looking at the reagent. It's very important. So this concept is very, very important. So what you are adding and how you are adding, like that only it will decide the fate of the reaction. Now once you have seen this, we will see the reactivity of the halogen. The next thing that you need to know here is the reactivity of the halogen. So which halogen will react faster, which will react better, and which will be slower. It will be in the order of the reactivity. As we know, in the case of halogens, it will be F2 will be more reactive, Cl2, Br2 and I2. So remember, these two are gases. Homolytic fission can take place quite easily. This is a liquid and iodine is a subliming solid. So naturally the amount of energy that is required to break the II bond, Br-Br bond will be more than that of fluorine and chlorine. Okay, so this is one important mechanism that you need to remember. And in the case of free radicals, you know that the free radical, you have this C free radical and CC free radical and CC free radical and CC free radical. That is, if you take a 0 degree free radical, 1 degree free radical, 2 degree free radical and a 3 degree free radical, and I told you this is comparable to the carbocations, therefore this will be most stable. This will be most stable, this will be most stable. And remember, free radicals do not undergo rearrangement. Free radical do not undergo rearrangement as in the case of carbocation. Very, very important. So don't try to rearrange this as compared to the carbocation. They do not undergo rearrangement. So whatever it is formed, only thing is, if a compound can form a primary free radical as well as a secondary free radical, it will try to only form a secondary free radical that will give you the major product, and the primary free radical that will form will be giving the minor product. Okay, so in this we have one important naming reaction in this free radical substitution, that's called as Gomberg reaction. Gomberg reaction, which is quite asked in the entrance examinations. They won't ask you the name, sometimes they may ask you the name with a reagent like that. So what does that Gomberg reaction is? The arylation of the aromatic compound. Arylation of aromatic compounds. That is, if you remember the Fittig reaction, where you get a diphenyl or biphenyl compound, arylation of an aromatic compound takes place. Something similar to that you can see it here. This is called as the Gomberg reaction. So this is benzene diazonium chloride. So C6H5N double bond N, then Cl. Okay, so or whatever X. So this is benzene diazonium chloride. Now this benzene diazonium chloride will react with another benzene molecule in the presence of an alkaline. You get a pH plus N2. It's very common product in the benzene diazonium chloride reaction, because nitrogen is a thermodynamically stable compound. Whenever benzene diazonium chloride undergoes any reaction, N2 will be released, because at the slightest provocation, N2 will easily come out. Now if you look at the mechanism of this reaction, now what happens in the first step, pH N double bond NCl or X, whichever you have, then you have the free radical that is formed, pH dot, I told you N2 will come out, plus Cl dot. Phenyl free radical will be formed, and this is highly unstable. As I told you, all free radicals are highly unstable, and phenyl radical is much unstable. So this is the first step, and in the second step, if you see propagation, this free radical that is formed will go and attack the next compound, that is the benzene, and try to make a homolytic fission like this. So you will have pH dot plus pH dot and then plus H dot. That will be formed. So you get a biphenyl compound that is formed here, and this H dot will react with Cl dot to form HCl. Okay. Now, if you want to draw the resonance structures of this free radical, how this is formed. Now, when this free radical attacks this pH benzene. Now you can see this, you have the compound that is formed here is the phenyl group attaches anywhere in any carbon, you have that hydrogen that is there. So this free radical, one bond will be broken like this. Then in the next free radical, this will be something similar to the carbocation that is formed here. So you have this, so you draw the first single bond, then the phenyl group that is attached here, the hydrogen that is formed. Now this will, everything will undergo homolytic fission like this. So you have the bond here, and this will come here, this will come here, and again this will undergo homolytic fission like this, and then you have the single bond, draw this, and then you have the pH, and then the H. So what happens here is this bond and this bond, you get the free radical here, you get the free radical here. So if you draw the resonance hybrid of this free radical, so you have this ring, and you have the pH, and then that is a phenyl group here, and this free radical, this is delocalized in this region. Within these three positions, this is delocalized. Okay, so and the chain termination, that's a third step that takes place. The chain termination is when you have this, the resonance stabilized this compound like this, not exactly resonance but delocalized electrons, free radical electron plus the Cl dot that is formed here. This will produce the final product like this. You get the diphenyl or biphenyl, that is aromatization of the aromatic compounds plus HX. Okay, so basically when does the free radical reaction takes place, you have to identify the reagents. So all these reagents, chlorine in the presence of light, halogen in the presence of heating, you take sulfuric acid in the presence of heating, tertiary butyl hypochlorite in the presence of light to give energy, N-bromosuccinamide in the presence of light. So all these reagents will undergo free radical halogenation, mainly in the case of allylic compounds. Okay, general halogenation, like in the case of alkenes, you will have this halogen getting broken down in the presence of light. Okay, remember this. See, this is an electron-rich molecule. This is also an electron-rich molecule. There are 3 lone pairs here and 3 lone pairs here. There will be lot of electronic repulsion between these two positions. So electron repulsion will be there. So this electron repulsion will be there taking place inside this molecule, and when we supply heat and a little bit of light energy, then it breaks and it forms a free radical due to homolytic fission. Okay, so remember the reagents, and then whenever you see these reagents, remember that they undergo free radical type of mechanism, and that free radical, you should know which free radical is more stable. That you can find out using this relation. I told you this is something similar to the carbocation type of stabilization, but they do not undergo the rearrangement. Okay, so I have explained to you about the free radical substitution in the case of the aromatic compounds, both aliphatic and aromatic compounds. Aromatic compounds, I told you in the case of Gomberg reaction, one annihilation of that aromatic compound, but the mechanism is same. So it goes by 3 steps: chain initiation, chain propagation, and chain termination. So you should know which bond will break. As usual in any compound, the most vulnerable bond will be the one which has got a difference in the electronegativity. That only will break. The greater the difference between the electronegativity of the compounds, greater the electronegativity difference, this bond, the vulnerable bond, not the electronegativity alone. Here you see there are 2 lone pairs. Here you will have 3 lone pairs. There will be lot of electronic repulsion between these 2 atoms. So at the slightest provocation, this bond will try to break by homolytic fission. Although oxygen and chlorine are not exactly the same electronegative character, but for most of the practical reasons, they break it into homolytic fission. That is, oxygen doesn't carry a negative charge like that. It takes only a free radical. Okay, I hope this I made it very clear, and you have to work out some exercises to find out and try to predict the products of these reactions. Some exercises which I'll give you in the in my below the video. You can work it out on that, and if you have any doubts, please post your comments below the video. Okay, thank you for watching.